Hello.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, where I have with me Jamie Tyndall.
Hello.
And all we're going to be talking about is Miss Meow, which just crossed over $40,000 in 45 minutes, which is amazing. And I don't know if you expected it to happen that quickly, but it kind of took off in a very cool way. And before we get into all that stuff, I do want to sort of talk a little bit about that because people might be hearing about it for the first time. What is Miss Meow and what is Merc Magazine and how did that entire idea all come about?
Sure. Give me one second. I'm just gonna put you over here just so I can look at the Kickstarter while I'm talking to you. So Miss Meow was like basically it was an idea between Sean Hudko and myself. He's in charge of Comics Elite, the online store, and they do a lot of podcasts as well. So we were doing like a lot of like basically when COVID hit, we were doing a lot of trading between like books that I was working on, like White Widow and stuff like that, plus other things. And we kept meeting like somewhere in the middle of like he's from Indiana, I'm from St. Louis, so somewhere in the middle. And we started talking about doing our own book, actually, our own series of books where we could do exclusives, get other artists that we know involved, and actually do something kind of like creative. So we came up with this concept of Merc, the Merc World or Merc Magazine, which I've used before in like a lot of prints, where our characters are actually based in the real world, like our world. They're celebrities, they have like endorsements and all this kind of thing. So as we started talking more, Miss Meow is the first character of that entire world. Other characters will be like, we have a character named Death Rage, we have a team book that's going to come out. So basically all these different characters are coming out. So Miss Meow is the very first book within this like universe that we're building. And we decided to do it on Kickstarter because I have a lot of like experience with Kickstarters in the past. I've done all my art books on Kickstarter. We launched a really successful White Widow campaign on Kickstarter with my partner Benny Powell from Absolute Comics, and that did really well. So we just went to Kickstarter as a natural sort of progression for launching the book. But we also did a pre-launch where we did a smaller version of the book, and that did exceptionally well too. So this is sort of where you can get it, is on Kickstarter for people that want to buy it or that want to support it. And then we do have we probably will have some retail stores carrying it, but not through their normal distribution. It'll just basically come to us if they want to buy it, and then we'll like give it to them. So that's kind of like the background.
Yeah, and I just put up the link down below so everybody can check
Okay.
that out and click it. Obviously it's over 40,000 and you had a goal of 5,000. So this book is
Yeah.
happening. And I want to clarify that because I know that people are always scared on Kickstarter that something is not going to happen and that they don't
Yeah,
want to
we're
back.
actually doing a very what they call like a quick turnaround. So our Kickstarter is 30 days. So just for people that on your channel that might not know what a Kickstarter is, it goes 30 days. And then for 15 days, it like goes kind of, it doesn't go quiet. Basically, we'll do an update and stuff. But basically 15 days to charge the credit cards. And then after that, it goes to what they call backer kit, where they can add on like prints and things like that. And then it basically, as soon as the Kickstarter is over, we go to print production. So with this one, we're actually doing all our printing locally in St. Louis, which is going to be awesome. And then we should have it all shipped out like within about 3 or 4 weeks of it finishing. Like we're trying to do a very quick turnaround on it. The Kickstarter will end on January 3rd. The backer kit stuff will probably be up by the 15th of January, and we're hoping to ship near the end of January, early February to everybody. And then we're also going to launch the Death Rage comic book in January, around January 6th or 7th. So that'll be another preview book. And then once all of the Kickstarter for Miss Meow is like out in the mail, the Death Rage will go into a Kickstarter kind of like scenario as well.
Yeah, and before we even get into any of that and start talking about rewards, I do want to talk a little bit more about Miss Meow because obviously there's a lot of Merc stuff going on and she wants to steal something and she's
Yep.
going to an event and a bunch of stuff is going to happen at this. So what can people expect with Miss Meow in that first book before we start talking about all the variants and all that fun stuff and one of
Yeah,
my
Miss
favorite
Meow, you
artists?
basically get into like she in the Merc world is one of the very first Mercs to go celebrity status in a sense. So she's kind of like you. We sort of like basically pitch her as the Lady Gaga of the Merc world. Her and the character Death Rage are the two older of the Mercs. Like they basically are like the top two tiers. It would be like Lady Gaga and Justin Timberlake, like in our world. So they have fan bases. They have like their minions. They have like basically people that work with them. Their corporate sponsors and everything else. In the first issue of Miss Meow, you sort of meet them all in an Oscar type setting. We call it the Merc Gala. So the Merc Gala is the first event of a 2-week event, which is MercCon, like Comic-Con. So just like we as collectors and comic book artists and like vendors and Marvel and DC and everyone else goes to Comic-Con, mercenaries go to their own version of Comic-Con, where there's like corporate sponsors, there's celebrities. They're celebrities in their own right. They have their own fan bases. So they end up at this like Merc Gala where different corporations are there. The Spartans are there, and they're like one of the big groups. And then there's like other different mercenaries there all the time, and they all sort of know each other. They all interact with each other. Some of them like each other, some of them don't like each other. So that's sort of where this all starts, is at this Merc Gala, where you get introduced to a lot of the different ones that'll come to play like in all the different books. So that's like the first issue of Miss Meow, basically.
Yeah, and I don't want to go any further into it because I don't want to ruin anything, but there is some cool stuff happening in this where we get fictional ads in this book. Yep. We get you get those like interviews with Miss Meow, and I know that your background is definitely more in magazines, and this definitely feels more.
Yeah, I came from a magazine background,
and so that's very cool, and I like the vibe of it where we're getting that entire old school comic magazine element into it.
Yep.
And so just to even back out of this, because what I think is awesome about this Kickstarter is the amount of variants that exist with this. And we have a very, very low digital reward, which I believe is $5. And then we have the regular one is $10 for, I guess, the cover A, for lack of a better word here.
Yep.
And then we start getting into like the $20 books that Dawn Mateague did, Ali Garza did, Ryan Kinrad did, I think a $50 book, Ash Maddie did another $10 book, or $20 book, I should say, and then it just keeps going up and up and up and up. And so, and I'm sure you're going to stop me at some point with all the different ones. We got the Gala variants and the Gala variants. And so what was the motivation behind doing all these different variants and bringing a lot of people? And I know that you've done work for Zenescope, and a bunch of these people have also done work for Zenescope, but others haven't. So what was the entire motivation behind it? Because as a collector of all of these artists, and I like a lot of these artists, it's very cool for me to see all of this.
And that's sort of what we do. Like, the comic book industry, you've got like two groups. You've got the collector group that loves the artwork and collects it because it's like their favorite artist. And that's sort of like what the Merc world is. It's just with mercenaries. Like when I go to a Comic-Con, I'll have a lot of fans come up and want me to sign stuff. So in a sense, if I was a mercenary, it's the same sort of concept. So with all the variants and stuff like that, we want people to enjoy their artists, like their favorite artist interpretation of what we do. So that's why we brought Dawn Mateague, Ryan Kincaid, Ali Garza, Ash Maddie. Dominic Glover is also really good. He's done a variant as well. And we've got lots of other guys coming down the pipeline. We're about to launch later this week. We're going to do what they call an add-on cover on Kickstarter. So it's like another cover that can kind of come out. We usually try to do 3 during an entire Kickstarter campaign. And the new one that'll come out, I believe we've got the colors all done, and I think it's going to launch on Wednesday, is Mike Crome, who's also a very famous artist. So we have a Mike Crome wraparound cover that we're going to launch on Wednesday. And then as a tease for the very last week, we'll probably be launching a cover that I'm going to be doing for the last push on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, and to even talk about that, because one of the artists that I am not familiar with that I actually love his cover is Ash Maddie. And
yeah, that, really good.
And Ash Maddie is very new. The other people that have been mentioned are not new by definition, but Ash is. So how did that even come about? Because I think that's something that is very interesting.
Yeah, Ash Maddie is one of Sean Hudko's guys. He brought him on board, and I really like Ash Maddie's stuff. And that's the thing with Kickstarters is like, as opposed to like a store variant where you have to sell like 500 units, you kind of like with stores, but with store variants, you sort of need famous artists to push that cover out the door. If you're a store and you're trying to sell a cover and you don't have an artist that doesn't really have a big name or anything, it's really, really hard to sell that many variants. So with Kickstarters, it's kind of fun because you can bring guys into Kickstarter that might not have a big fan base, but whose art can shine because it's that good. And they get recognition within the Kickstarter and stuff. One of the things that we've been doing is we found a couple new colorists, which are awesome, that like have never colored in the industry at all, and their covers are in the Kickstarter. And then we also brought another artist too. If you go like to what they call the push goals, on the 50K push goal, we have a metal print we're going to offer and an 11 by 17 print. And this artist has a huge Facebook following, and his name's Geraldo Rivera. And his style is like really cute, really like poppy. And he's somebody we want to bring on and do regular covers with because I love his style. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I think that Kickstarter definitely gives opportunity to people who don't get opportunity in so many ways. And we're starting to see that a lot more with this. And also, you mentioned that sort of bringing on add-ons and things like that. You just dropped the Elias Chazudis is how it's pronounced. And I love that. I actually backed that one. I picked that one up on top of my Dawn Matique because I love Dawn. I love her work. So what was that like getting him involved and bringing him on as an add-on and as quote-unquote stuff?
With the add-ons like on a Kickstarter, like if you're thinking of starting your own Kickstarter for a comic book, one of the good things of doing like an add-on cover halfway through your thing is that you generate more interest in the Kickstarter, because the Kickstarter algorithm basically goes that if your Kickstarter is doing well and tracking with like the amount of people like viewing it, you get like a higher rating on Kickstarter and more visibility. So one of the ways to keep that visibility going is to bring out some new things onto Kickstarter so you get more eyeballs going back onto your Kickstarter. So that's why we bought Elias's cover onto Kickstarter, and he killed this cover. It's really good. It's one of my favorite covers he's ever done.
Yeah, I love his work in general, and I think that this is amazing, and I'm excited for this, just to like look at it and stare at it and appreciate it for what he's done. And both versions of it are great in their own unique way. So I love the fact that he dropped it, and it got me very excited on that. And then something else that I want to talk about that I think is also cool about this Kickstarter is that there's so many rewards, and one of the rewards that you're offering is that at the $300 level, if you're willing to do a commission. And I know that your commission list is non-existent for the most part.
No, I don't. I really don't have the time to take. Yeah, it looks like we've got 15 backers on my commission list right now, which is pretty good. And I really just I honestly only offer commissions on the Kickstarters because I've got I get calls all the time to do covers for different projects and stuff like that. And right now I have to turn a lot of them down just because I'm kind of like, my schedule right now is pretty much booked for 2 or 3 months. Like I've got projects every single day for 2 or 3 months. So like currently right now I'm doing 2 Christmas covers, like when I'm off the phone with you, and then I've got to knock off our bonus covers for this, plus get a bunch of commissions done for the art book Kickstarter that I've got going as well. So it's pretty busy.
And that's why I wanted to emphasize this, where this is the only place you can get a Jamie Tyndall commission. And it's beautiful because it's an 11 by 17, if I'm not mistaken. And you can pretty much get anything you want with this commission. So I want to highlight that, and I think it's super important to highlight that if you love Jamie Tyndall's work, that this is the place to get it because you're not going to get it elsewhere.
Yeah, I like doing the commissions too because it sort of gives me I can like work out other characters and do like some fun characters. Like it was kind of cool. I did some commissions just a little while ago, and I was able to do a punchline, which I've never drawn before. So that was kind of fun, and yeah, it's just fun to do like different characters. And a lot of times, like not right now, but when we go back to the conventions, a lot of the commissions that I do for these kind of things, we turn them into art prints because it gives me a chance to do characters that I normally wouldn't do. So.
Yeah, and I think that's brilliant, and I love when people do stuff like that. And also, if somebody throws you an idea of a particular character, and then they're like, "Oh man, I didn't get to do that," and somebody else has an idea, and then it turns into that. I love it, and then I love creativity and all that stuff. But now I want to talk about the other side of this entire project, which I think is also amazing, is that the stretch goal rewards are insane on this.
Yeah, they're really good. Murphy is also the writer, and she works with me. She wrote Miss Meow, Death Rage, and our other one that's going to come down the pipeline called Bubblegum Blitzkrieg. And she's basically the editor-in-chief of Merc Publishing in a sense. And she put together the Kickstarter. She's responsible for getting this all put together, all the graphics in it and setting it up. And she's phenomenal at that. And she's the one that went and all the goodies in the bonus goodies, where are they? I've got to find them. all these push goals and stuff like this. She's the one that basically went out and contracted all the companies to get all this stuff done. And we actually have a lot of this stuff like all in the queue to get published and ready to go as soon as the Kickstarter's done. So yeah, our little push goals are really, really good. I think we're at like 42,000 right now. So
you're pretty
we're
close.
Almost at the big campaign sticker, and then 50K will be the metal print for anyone over $100 contribution, and then anyone under $100 contribution will get the 11 by 17 paper print.
And now, one of the things that I love is that you can get all of this stuff for $10. And the way I view it is that if you just back this on a physical level at $10, the amount of stretch goals are going to far exceed what the book's price is in many ways.
Oh, totally. And that's kind of like that's why people like Kickstarters, is they get all this extra stuff that you wouldn't really get anywhere else, which is kind of fun. Like there's a lot of stickers, we've got some magnets, we've got a button. The prints are the one thing that people really like is once we get up into the 50K mark, you know, you're talking a metal print. Like I sell those at shows for $30, you know, and anyone over $100 contribution will get it for free. And even the 11 by 17 print we're offering, we typically charge $20 for that. So anyone under $100, even if you're a $10 contribution, is going to get that print. So that's a pretty good incentive to join the Kickstarter and even like go a little higher if you want, like over 100 to get the extra metal print and everything else. And this metal print we're offering over 50K is that artist I was telling you about, Geraldo. I think it's Geraldo Rivera. I'd have to look, but like phenomenal artist, you know, great pinup style. I love the colors on this, and he knocked it out of the park.
And it's the same as the 11 17 by 17. So I'm at the $40 tier. And that's kind of where I'm tapped out a little bit, but it's the exact same print. Just one of them's a metal, and one of them is just more traditional.
Yeah, the metal one is like what they call a comic book size, so it's the same size as the comic books. And then the paper one is a little bit bigger. And I think, I can't remember, and don't quote me on this, but I think the over 100 gets both, but I'm not sure. I don't remember. So, I mean, that's something we'll have to work out, but I can't remember if that's true or not, so I'd have to look at that. But then as it goes down, like the 60K tier is a magnet, the 55K tier is a bookmark, and then if we start to go over 60K, we'll have to figure out some more stuff.
And so my question to you with this is that, because I was speaking with Corey Hardiman, who does Sister Mercy, and his stretch goals got broken really quickly, and yours did as well. And so were you expecting it to be broken so quickly, and were you having an oh my god moment?
Yeah, usually like we have a good ballpark, like based on previous Kickstarters and how far we go. You know, like, I mean, the White Widow Kickstarter has hit 100K on one, 108 I think on one. It hit like 60 on another one, 50 on another one. So you got a good idea of like where you're going to end up typically. You know, we'll be happy with like anything over 50 because then we can get those like print goals out, which would be fun. If we go over that, that's even better. But I mean, you know, we're pretty happy where we are right now. And usually in a Kickstarter cycle, if it's a 30-day cycle, right now is the slower time. You kind of slow down a little bit. So you want to like get a little bit more like media attention. You put another comic book cover up or something like fun up, and then that gets you like a little bit more, and then you keep going and going and going. And then usually in the last week is when it really starts to skyrocket. So.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask a question because I know that Kickstarter is complicated right now, where everybody waited for a while and had like a 3-month hiatus on Kickstarter, and then now a bunch of projects are going on. Where my friend was explaining that there's like 312 now out on Kickstarter at the same time. Is that a concern for you, or do you feel that your project?
Actually, the way I view Kickstarter is that the more projects are on it, the better chance of your project being picked up by somebody that has not seen it. So it's kind of like at a Comic-Con. We all go to a Comic-Con and there's tons of competition at a Comic-Con, but somebody that might not be my fan, that has never seen my artwork, might be going to see somebody else's artwork and happens to walk by my booth and then sees my artwork and now they become a fan. So it's all like, I look at Kickstarter as a viral marketing tool where you're putting yourself out there for people that you normally wouldn't see. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
No, that actually makes a lot more sense now that I think about it, and that's good that, more competition, more attention, all that stuff. So I know that you got a deadline to get out to go finish your Christmas cover. But I do want to encourage everybody that for $10 you get all the rewards that we just spoke about, and I missed a few of them. and that chances are that this thing is going to be pushing over 50K. I think it's a safe bet at this point, but I do want to give you an opportunity to promote it, tell people what to expect, yell at people for not backing it, tell people to kick up their goals, get that Chaz's cover over the top and lit. You know, as Jason says, it's slamming, and that's a Zenscope reference. But where can people find all this? I have the link down below. Where can people support it? And obviously, $10 gets you a physical copy, and then everything else gets you just a better copy, for lack of a better word, or a variant, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Yep, just go to the Kickstarter, do a Google search for Merc Magazine, or like on Kickstarter, do a search for Miss Meow, and we usually will show up pretty quickly.
So there you have it, everybody. You know, $10, and then you can go all the way up to like 600. I think there's like an $800 reward if I'm not mistaken. And if you want a Jamie Tyndall commission, that's the $300 range. That's still open from my understanding, and it's the only place you can get it. And so if you need a commission, do not call Jamie. Do not ask at a con. This is the place to get it. And I have a feeling in 3 months you might want another commission if you get this commission. So go check it out. So everybody, please go check out that Kickstarter. Support it. Check it out. Click the link in the comments down below. And $10, guys. It's $10. It's coming out pretty much in February. And so that's all I could say. And support indie comics. Final words?
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Y'all, thank you again. And we're going to have to do this again at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it was good meeting you, dude.
Likewise.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.